We are back on the official Colts podcast on a Thursday. This crew's been on hiatus. We've had Thanksgiving, we've had a bye week, and now we got the big one, the kahuna here. It's the Colts and the Broncos, week number 15. Great to be back with you. Bill Brooks, Casey Vallier, I'm Matt Taylor on this Thursday edition of the official Colts podcast. Thanks for tuning us in, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Colts.com or the Colts Audio Network. Thanks for making us part of your day. And we are going to have some fun, entertain you, inform you on this biggin coming up on Sunday between the Colts and the Broncos. Billy B, how we doing today, man? Good to see you again, as always, here.
I'm doing well. Enjoyed the bye week. Had a good time, relaxing, and but I'm ready right now to get back at it. I am ready to get back at it. Big game this week.
You don't know how to feel, do you?
No, I know how to feel.
You're walking on eggshells around this game already, man.
No, it's a big game this week. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, you got some nervous energy over there.
Yes.
I think the Colts do, too. I think the Broncos should. All the fans do. I mean, this is a huge game, so we're going to talk all about that in terms of the magnitude and the math, and you win, you do this. If you lose, you do that. You fall back. So we'll talk all about it. Matt Gonzalez is going to join us here on the podcast as well, the rookie swing tackle. He started 4 out of the last 5 games up front for the Colts. He's been the left side. Now he's back on the right side. So he's going to have some good perspective on trying to slow down a Denver defense that is numero uno this year in defensive sacks. They have 47, a lot of sack diversity. So he's going to talk about that. And then we're going to close out the show talking about why Denver is having such a good season, why they're in this position right here with an 8-5 record, where many people thought going into the season, maybe Denver with a rookie quarterback, they didn't know if Bo Nix was going to start at all, might be one of the worst teams in the NFL, but they are far from that here. 3 games over 500 this late in the season. Casey, where do you want to start? You look at this matchup.
Oh, boy.
And I mean, we always tease Bill all the time. Is this a must-win game? Let's get into it here. The Colts are 6-7, Denver 8-5. So the Colts trail Denver by 2 for the last wild card spot in the AFC. So a win would pull the Colts within 1 game with 3 games to go. They would have that head-to-head tiebreaker over Denver in that process. But a loss gives the Broncos a 3-game lead over the Colts plus the tiebreaker, meaning the Colts, due to the math, they can't catch them. They would not be able to surpass Denver in that situation. So you hear all about the NFL.com predictolator. You've got the Athletics version of their Texas Instruments Whopper, New York Times playoff simulator.
Yes.
All of those give the Colts a right around a 65% chance of making the playoffs if they beat Denver. The chances drop to just 9% to make the postseason if the Colts lose this game. So, Case, can we pile on Bill right here? Is this a must-win game? I know it's not a Week 18 affair, but come on, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I know Bill won't say it, but I will say it. This is a must-win. And if you really want me to give you a nice little pat on the back, Bill, this is as close to a must-win as you're going to get at this point of the season. I mean, you can look at scenarios all you want, but really, when you look at the wild card picture, it is the Broncos.
It's so weird to look at that, too, with so few teams still in contention.
Yeah, I mean, it's polar opposites for the conferences, too, because in the NFC, only one team is eliminated, the Giants, who the Colts will see in 2 weeks. And in the AFC, it's 6 teams or 7 teams, I think, are eliminated, which is wild to think. And it gets even crazier when you look at divisions, because the Chiefs and the Bills have already clinched theirs. The Steelers are right on the doorstep of clinching. So it's ultimately, you've got the Ravens and the Colts are the only teams still without being division leaders that could potentially win the division. But then outside of that, when you look at the wild card, it's really who is going to get that final spot, because the Ravens have their lead, the Chargers have their lead. It's really the Broncos is the easiest way for the Colts to get in, and that's why I think it's a must-win, because you can't catch the Broncos if you lose this, so then you need so much help after that. Right. So it's must-win and all of that, but it's just so imperative to be able to take your opportunity you have this weekend, because this is a great opportunity to really separate yourself in that hunt, because it also opens up the door for the other, it gives you a little bit of flexibility if you're a Colts fan. So that's why it's so important to get a victory here, because it eliminates a crazy detour that's detour after detour after detour in order to get into the playoffs, if you want to look at it as a road.
I mean, right now it's the Broncos, Colts, Bengals have an outside chance, and then the Dolphins are there too. And really, in all reality, based on the math, it's basically Broncos and Colts because the Colts have the head-to-head tiebreaker over Miami because they won that matchup earlier this season. So, Bill, when you look at it, it's really interesting that there's so much magnitude surrounding this game, but it's only Week 15. There's still 3 more games to go after this one. You know, the core of this team that was here last year played in that Week 18 winning your in-game against the Houston Texans last year. This is kind of like that because of the magnitude of this one. Did you ever play in a game that meant so much, but it wasn't a Week 17 or in this case Week 18 game, the last game of a regular season? It's kind of bizarre that this game means so much, but it's not the last game of the season.
You know, I don't think I ever played in a game this early with this amount of magnitude in the game in regards to having to win or, you know, if you don't win, your probability of making the playoffs has dropped so much. So I don't think I've played in a game like that, but I would say, you know what, the players understand right now that this is a game that means a whole lot to their season and to their goals of what they want to accomplish for this year. So it's going to be important for those guys to go out there and play well, do their job. And it's interesting, like you mentioned earlier, Casey, just how many teams are eliminated from the AFC playoff spot in regards to that. And there's only, I think it's only maybe 8 to 10 teams that are probably still have a mathematical chance.
10. I think it's 10.
10 to get a mathematical chance of getting into the playoffs. So that's it's pretty interesting to happen this early in the season. I don't think I've seen that when I was playing, definitely. And I don't know if I've seen it ever.
I liked what DeForest Buckner said earlier today. He just got done speaking to the media as we're taping this on Thursday. He said, we don't have to get ourselves into playoff mode. We're already there.
Yeah.
You know, they've really been there the last couple of weeks because they've played key games in the sense that they've been AFC matchups the last couple of weeks against the Jets, Patriots, and now the Broncos. So, Casey, I like that mindset of the guys not shying away from the intensity of this game, how much this game means, and also the mindset that they have to be in that it's basically one and done from here on out. Despite the fact there's 3 games after this, they know those 3 games don't mean nearly as much if they don't win this game on Sunday. So they're treating it like a playoff game mindset-wise.
Yeah, and it's interesting, all of that playing into you're coming off the bye, so you had an opportunity to kind of get that extra week because, we've all talked about the magnitude of this game in front of you because of where Denver is. I think it's ironic that heading into the bye, you get an extra week to prepare for your biggest game of the season. Yeah. And you talked about the AFC thing, and that's kind of where, I didn't mention it before, but that's also where it plays such a big factor is you've done enough that your AFC record is what it is, and it's going to continue to help you along the way.
It's going to continue.
And that's the thing. You've got, the rest of the way, you've got one NFC opponent in the Giants. I mentioned they're mathematically eliminated, but then everything else is AFC. So all of those tiebreakers that are going to play in, if you continue to take care of business within the conference, you win these AFC games, it just continues to open up another door, another avenue for you to get in. And I'm glad the team is approaching it the way they are because I got that sense late in that game against New England that this is literally the drive of our season. Mm-hmm. You go on a 19-play drive to win.
It saved the whole thing.
It saved everything. And you could say what you want about, wow, you beat New England. You know what? At the end of the day, I thought that New England team, they came to play. I thought there was a lot of good you saw out of quarterback Drake May. They did a lot of good things in the run game and the pass game. So regardless of a victory in this NFL is hard to do every week. And they did enough to get that victory. And I think you saw that playoff instinct come into play. And hopefully that continues into Sunday.
Yeah, both of these teams, Colts and Broncos, are coming off of bye. So they're going to be equally rested. I don't think either team's going to have an advantage as far as that goes. You look at the Colts. They haven't made the playoffs since 2020. The Broncos haven't made the playoffs since 2015. Last time they were in the postseason, they won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Peyton Manning was their quarterback. It's the longest drought in NFL history for a team to win a Super Bowl and then not make the playoffs.
Wow.
7 straight years they've missed out on. It's probably longer than that, right? Is it 8 years? 8
yeah.
years now. I don't do math in public. That's why. They haven't had a winning season since 2016. If they beat the Colts coming up on Sunday, that will give them their first winning season in that span. So a huge game for both teams in terms of the math, but also trying to break some dubious schneids, if you will. So that's what I want to talk about right now is the Colts are playing with confidence. They've won 2 of their last 3, and those are road wins with game-winning drives by the Colts, I should say, finding those clutch moments. Casey mentioned that 19-play drive, Bill. I mean, it is hard. You know this better than anybody on this set right now. It is hard to execute for 19 straight plays because so many things can happen. You can have a killer false start or a holding penalty or an interception or a turnover or a drop pass. You had to convert 3 times on 4th down to continue that drive. So what is it right now about Anthony Richardson in this offense that gives you confidence that if they're in a close game, which the Colts have played 11 out of 13 close games, that they're going to be the team that finds a way to get it done on the road, which they've done against the Jets and the Patriots here recently?
What gives me confidence is the moment's not too big for him.
Yeah.
He just feels like this is just another day in the park, so to speak, that we go out here and play this game. I know what I can do. I trust the other 10 guys out there, what they can do, and we'll make a play to get the ball down the field, to make a play, to hopefully get into the end zone, get in position to get a field goal, whatever they need to do. The situation's not too big for him. He's been so poised in these situations. He doesn't look rattled. Now, I'm not saying he's not nervous or excited, but he doesn't look it outside as far as looking from the outside on watching him on the field. He looks very poised out there, very calm. He knows what he's doing. He looks like he has a good feel, a good comfort of the offense, what they want to run, what they want to get accomplished for that play. So to me, that gives me confidence knowing that. And when your quarterback is poised, it doesn't get rattled, that does a lot for the rest of the offense in regards to the offensive line, the receivers, the running backs. They feel comfortable and confident knowing that, okay, this guy's going to put us in the right position to make a play.
Casey, is it safe to say that this game on Sunday is the biggest game in Anthony Richardson's career?
Probably. I think it's very safe to say that. And ultimately, it's probably the biggest game of any of his time playing quarterback, probably back to high school, because his time in Florida.
Well, that's what I meant.
Right. Yeah.
In his football life.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a game where it can go both ways. You can see it from both ends of that spectrum, that you're going to go back and look at what happened when everything's on the line. This is for all the marbles. You can talk about the importance of the last 3, but if you don't get this one, those ones, it becomes very, very difficult. So absolutely, I completely agree.
Well, I find this fascinating. You look at the quarterback matchup in this game between Anthony Richardson and Bo Nix. Bo Nix is actually younger than Anthony Richardson. Or excuse me, he's older.
Older,
I beg your
yes,
pardon.
older.
Right.
He's older than Anthony Richardson, even though he's a rookie. And obviously Anthony is in year number 2. Anthony had those 13 games in college. I think if you roll that plus the 10 games this year, it's like less than 30 starts combined between college and the NFL. And then, of course, Bo Nix started 61 games in college between Auburn and Oregon. That's the most games ever started by a college quarterback in the history of college football. I mean, he's played in some big games like the Iron Bowl a couple of times against Alabama. He's played in a couple big bowl games, the Pac-12 championship game. I think it's fascinating to think that this guy is a rookie, but he's also more seasoned than the guy on the other sideline. So like the big game component of the quarterbacks within this matchup, I think is fascinating to see how that transpires and how it unfolds. I'm really intrigued by that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be interesting to see how Anthony handles it. You know, it's going to be a raucous crowd out there. They're going to be loud. They're going to be in an area where, of course, it's going to be mile high. Of course. So how does he deal with the altitude? Don't know how he's going to deal with that. Don't know how the team's going to deal with that. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the crowd noise, out there in Mile High Stadium.
Let's talk about this defense for the Colts. All right. Obviously, they got the win against the Patriots, but they gave up a lot of yards. And I think that's been the theme of this season so far this year for this Colts defense is they're good inside the red zone. They do a reasonably good job of taking the football away, but it's the high volume between the 20s. I think the Colts are averaging almost 375 yards allowed per game. Unfortunately, that would be the third highest total, if it holds up, that the Colts defense has ever given up in a single season. They've given up 375 yards or more 9 times this season. So, you can look at those numbers and say, yeah, they need to get those things cleaned up, but the point total's pretty good. You won that game last time out because you were better in the red zone than the Patriots. So that's, at the end of the day, all that matters. Can you overcome that by making more plays, being more opportunistic, which more often than not this season the Colts have done that. But, Casey, what gives you confidence defensively that the Colts can do a better job of quieting down the high volume against this rookie quarterback in the Broncos?
Yeah, that's a big one because you were hoping to see that the last time out, I think.
Well, the reason why I say it, Denver is a middling offense statistically.
Right. But and that's what kind of gives me a little bit of pause because you looked at Drake May as a rookie with an offense in New England that was 31st. So you were hoping that would be kind of that turning point game where the defense just, puts their stamp on the game, and that never really happened. But then you talk about the red zone and you talk about all of that. So that is where it's going to be. I think you're at that point where the numbers, the statistics, you are what you are. So ultimately, this defense is a defense that's allowing a lot of yards. That's where you are at this point in the season. So the confidence I get is based off what you saw last. So what you did for me lately was you were able to get those stops in the red zone, and then counterly with the offense, you're able to put it in the end zone instead of settling for field goals. Because at the end of the day, you talk about math.
That's what it's all about.
My math's not very good, but I know that 2 field goals equals 6, and if you get a touchdown, an extra point on one of those drives, that's 7. You still lead. So my biggest thing is making sure that you stay up with that red zone efficiency that you had last week, and being able to have a timely interception like Julian Blackmon was able to get last time out. Those are what is so important, and that's kind of where you got to hang your hat. So it's red zone, it's the ability to have that turnover. That's the only confidence I think I really have because the yardage has been there all year, so that's probably going to continue.
Yeah, but you want to try to slow them down somehow. You don't want them to keep on moving the ball down the field over and over again and eating up some clock and wearing your defense out.
It's that middle of the field
right,
too,
that's what I'm
right?
talking about.
It's the third down
Down,
conversions.
Yes.
It's not being able to quiet down the explosive runs, the 10-plus yard runs. And, the Colts are, on average, losing time of possession, to your point, Bill, by about 7.5 minutes per game.
Yeah, and those are plays. That's plays that you're not able to have for your offense.
Yeah.
The offense to have opportunity to move the ball down the field. So those are the things that concern me that, if you don't get teams off the field, you're taking the ball pretty much away from your own offense and you're wearing yourself out. So I just hope that's something that the Colts can do better this week against the Broncos because, look, Bo Nix is a good quarterback and he can run the ball and run himself. He does a nice job running, he scrambles. So they have to get the ball away from him and keep it in our hands, and that way, hopefully, you give the Colts a better chance of scoring some points.
And, we talked about, you mentioned it there, third down is going to be so key. And, Matt, I know you looked up some stats on Bo Nix on third downs. He's one of the most efficient quarterbacks in all of the league, and that's just not rookies. That is any quarterback in the league on third down efficiency. So all of that is key. But third down, I know that, we seemingly talk to Jalen Jones week in and week out about it, and that is what he harps on every single week. And that's what this whole defensive back and this whole defense is. That's the key, is getting off the field on third down, especially, your 3rd and 7s. You can't allow the big play conversions on 3rd and long. So third down is going to be a big one. If the Colts get a victory this weekend, I think third down might be an area that you really look at.
Yeah, you look at Bo Nix, like you said, leads the NFL in passing yards and completions this season on third down. And the Colts defense has given up the most third down conversions in the NFL so far this season. Before we get into Matt Gonzalez, who's going to join us here on the Official Colts podcast, injuries in a good way, trending in the right direction for the Colts. Ryan Kelly could be a guy that's designated off of IR to come back this week. Tanner Bortolini's got a good shot to at least be in the mix to start or be available. That's probably a better way to put it, since missing that last game with a concussion against the Patriots. Josh Downs was a limited participant on Wednesday. Again, this is Thursday, so we'll see if he's able to ramp some things up late in the week in practice. Am I missing anybody else? Ashton Doolin was still a DNP on the injury report earlier this week. But that's good. The Colts are getting a lot of key players back, namely Ryan Kelly, your starting center, and your starting stud slot receiver, and Josh Downs, who has such good rapport with Anthony Richardson.
No, absolutely. And you also, Jalen Carlisle has been a guy who's been designated off return as well.
Thank you.
And Carlisle, you saw he made a really big impact on special teams, and then also he kind of trickled in there as kind of that third linebacker in some of those when he was healthy, and he played pretty well. So that is another one. But I talked to Josh today, and he says he's ready to go. He said it was a really good bye week for him because he kind of had a bye week before the bye week, if you will, with missing the Patriots game. He said so sitting out that week, but being able to kind of ramp up during the bye, he feels pretty good about giving it a go. So you talk about getting Josh Downs back, and if Ryan Kelly comes back, it's wild to think because we all talked about it before the year starts when you see that late bye. You're like, man, you got to be able to try to get to there. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, this team got there.
It just seems so far away.
It really
I looked at you like in late September. I go, when's the bye? Holy smokes. We got another 3.5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a while.
But this team, it's worked out really well because they were able to kind of maintain their health. They got some guys back before the bye with DeForest Buckner missed time. Tyquan Lewis had missed some time. So you got some guys back, and this really worked in their favor to get an extra week of rest before this final 4-game stretch.
And before, like you said, before the biggest game of the season. We didn't know it at the time, but now it's shaping up to be that, and it's definitely here. So, yeah, it's really interesting to hear how guys have used the bye to their advantage. You can say the same thing about Mr. Matt Gonzalez, who joined us earlier today on the Official Colts podcast. He talked about his bye week and also the challenge at hand with the Denver Broncos, who, again, lead the NFL in sacks. They bring a boatload of pressures. They blitz a lot. So edge play on both sides of the line here up front is going to be paramount for the Colts. So Matt Gonzalez talks to us right now on the Official Colts podcast, Week 15, Colts and Broncos. The Colts are getting ready for a huge game on Sunday. It's the Colts and the Denver Broncos out in the Mile High City. And Matt Gonzalez is with us now to talk about the matchup. And Matt, you've started 4 of the last 5 games. You're settling in, certainly in your rookie season. But before we get into all of that, I want to talk about the bye week. How needed was the bye week for you, and how did you spend that time?
Oh yeah, I mean it was definitely something I needed for sure. 13 full or 20 full weeks of football, it's a lot. So being able to get away for a little bit, clear my head from football, is definitely nice. It was a good experience for sure.
In years past, you've been playing football for so long now, and now obviously you're doing it on a professional level. But in years past at Pitt, you were getting ready for finals, you're getting ready for a bowl game, and now here in the NFL, you still have 4 games left. How have you dealt with the longevity of the season for the first time as a rookie?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough. I think it's something every rookie has to deal with for sure. But, I'm just trying to take it day by day right now, week by week, minute by minute, hour by hour. I'm just trying to lock in and do my job. And, obviously we got 4 more left. And, it's something new I've had to experience.
Right.
But, I think it's something that, I'll be able to adjust to. And, it's tough, but, National Football League is tough. So, you got to adjust to it.
No doubt about that. So within that, what are some things that you've had to realize about, taking care of your body and making sure you're available every single week, considering the length of an NFL season?
Yeah, it's something you got to stay on top of for sure. I mean, me being younger and not, having as many reps as these guys, maybe, a little bit less, but, it's definitely something you got to keep on, whether it's,
right.
sauna, hitting the tubs or just getting extra treatment, weight room and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's definitely something you got to keep on top of.
All right, so before the bye week in that New England game, you got your first start at right tackle. You had obviously played a lot of tackle and guard in college, both sides of the football. But for you, playing the right side versus the left side at the tackle position, doing it for the first time at the right side last game against the Patriots, what was that like? How'd that go for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a change, because I was just kind of adjusting and getting used to the left side. So, I played a majority of right in college, so, I'd like to think that, I have a little bit more of a feel over there. But it's, in the National Football League, it's something you have to adjust to with the angles and how you set and how you run off the ball and stuff. So it's been a bit of adjustment for me, but the more I work at it, the better I'll feel.
So. What is it about you that you're able to provide that flexibility? Why are you the Swiss Army knife up front along that offensive line?
I just do what my coaches tell me to do. That's really it. If I got to go play one position or go play another, I just do whatever is best for me to help the team. So, whether that's snapping or playing guard or playing tackle, I'm a lineman, I like to say. I don't think I'm at a certain position yet. I'd like to, find a home and hone my craft in at certain area. But, as of right now, I'm just trying to help the team.
But is that where you earn your stripes, right? Is that one of the things that you can point to, hopefully later in your career when you're cemented at one position, you can say, hey, until I found that spot, I was able to, show my flexibility and versatility and help the team in any way possible.
Right, yeah, like you said, I mean, as of right now, it kind of is like earning my stripes. I'll do whatever it takes for this team to win. So if that's what it takes, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll earn my stripes that way.
Who are some guys within this room that are really helping you settle in within your rookie season?
I'd say, both of the tackles, they've helped me out a lot, just kind of, whether it's technique or something like that, and, watching film or whatever. I'd say Quentin Nelson kind of giving me the confidence on the left side and what he's, brought to the table over this year. So, having him just be able to, kind of guide me and tell me that, you're doing good, and, we're going to play out and do well and ball out and stuff. So he's done a great job with me. And, yeah, some of the old, other older guys too, Danny Pinter, he's talked to me a lot. He's a good friend of mine, Will Fries too. So, those guys have, given me a lot of confidence to go out and play every Sunday. So.
All right, well, let's talk about this matchup on Sunday. The Broncos, they blitz a lot, and their pressure rate's really good. They lead the NFL in sacks. I think they have 4 players that have at least 5 sacks. Nick Benito has 11. What is it about their pressure and their pressure rate in the scheme that has allowed them to be pretty efficient getting after the quarterback?
Well, I think it comes down to how hard they play. Just watching on film, the motor that each of these guys have and how much physicality and, how much they bring to the table. Every play is not a play off for them. They bring a lot of speed and, they get after the quarterback. So I think it's just a tremendous effort that they bring, every week. It really shows up on film. That's something that I first noticed, and, that's definitely a big reason why they're one of the best defenses in the league right now.
No doubt about that. All right, so you've obviously never played in Denver before. What are you hearing about the atmosphere out there, the crowd? It's one of the best fan bases in the NFL, plus the altitude. What are some things you're hearing about, what it takes to get ready to play out there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely having to adjust to altitude. I think they're back a couple hours too, so that, that's definitely, I think it's a 4:25 game over here. So, I'd say that it's going to be loud there. It's something we got to hone in on communication. And then, like you said, the altitude, we're doing different things, sauna, drinking beet juice and stuff like that, and just trying to, get ready to, kind of adjust to the altitude.
Beet juice?
Yeah, beet juice, yeah.
What's the significance of that?
That's what our trainers told us to do. So, I mean, I hope it helps. I think it will, But, yeah, we've been trying to adjust and, adjust to the altitude and stuff like that. So, I think it'll be pretty good.
All right. Well, everybody's going to Google beet juice now. Everybody's going to figure out what the science is behind that. All right. So you look at this matchup. You played in a lot of big games in the past at Pitt. All right. I mean, every single guy in that locker room, you can't get to this level without, playing big in big moments. So the significance of this game in terms of the math and the viability to make the playoffs. What's being talked about inside the locker room in terms of the mindset of this team going into this game?
Yeah, I mean, we know it's a big game. we're just taking it like it was any other game, and we prepare the same way. And obviously, we got to hone in a little bit more. We're feeling a little bit more fresh, have a little bit more energy. But we know that they're a great defense and stuff like that. So we got to lock in and hone in. To the best of our abilities this week, and especially all year. So, it's a big game, but like I said, we prepare the same way, and just going to go out and do our very best. That's all we can do. So.
Yep. All right, Matt. Really appreciate your time, man. Congratulations on a great rookie season to this point. I know you're not done. I know you got some unfinished business here with the last 4 games of the season. It starts on Sunday, Colts and the Broncos. That's Matt Gonzalez. Matt, always appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
We had a lot of fun with Matt Gonzalez off the air just now with his beet juice comment. Right? I was taken aback by that, so I just Googled it during that interview. He mentioned beet juice, how to get ready to play in Denver, how to deal with the altitude. So just my crack Google search here. Beet juice may boost stamina to help you exercise longer, improve blood flow, and help lower blood pressure. Some research shows. Why? Because beets are rich in natural chemicals called nitrates. All right, so I'm going to stop it right there because after that, it gets all like Bill Nye the Science Guy on there.
Big words.
That's above my pay grade. Oh. But, did you ever subscribe to that? You ever heard of that?
I've heard of it.
Because you're the professional athlete in the group here.
I have heard of that, and it does give you supposed to give you more stamina in regards to going out there playing and running and being able to deal with, being tired and stuff like that. Yeah. So I don't know if it's going to help them out in Denver or not. Hopefully it does.
Evidently it will.
Evidently it will, so hopefully they'll be ready for it. But it is something that does happen out in Denver. I mean, people talk about it. It might be in your head, but it's true. You go out there, and when you are running, you can feel it. You can feel a difference where you do get tired
really
early. Yeah, you
do
get
tired. You felt it out there?
I felt it out there when playing Denver. It does happen, but it's not drastic, but it does happen. So you have to definitely prepare for it and be ready for it. And I'm sure the team is doing that. I'm sure they have all the nutritionists and out there.
Where did you feel it the most? Just curious.
Pretty much in your lungs.
Okay.
You just feel tired.
Made it painful to go through 4 quarters and endure.
It's hard to breathe. It's hard to catch your breath, and you want to take a break for a second there. But it's something you just have to deal with. And if you've been out there and you're practicing in it, as Denver has, they get used to it. And it's just one of those things that teams that go out there, the visiting teams, they do, for the most part, have a little hard time with it. But it's nothing drastic where you're going to see everyone just gasping for air. So it'll be something that the Colts have to deal with once they get out there.
I can't imagine beet juice tasting very well.
Yeah, I don't like beets. Do you like beets?
I mean, I don't think I've had a beet since I was like 12.
Yeah,
it depends. I wouldn't want to drink beet juice straight.
Like pickled beets, I feel like that's it. Like
one
of my Thanksgiving.
Mix it with a little.
You can juice it. There's things you can do to juice it up. You could put carrots in there. You could put apples in there.
Yeah, but you're not mixing Saturday night cocktail with some beet juice. All right.
No, you're not doing that.
I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying.
You're not doing that. But
Connor, you going to Brothers downtown? Give me a little vodka and beet. Is that what you're asking for?
To kind of to make it taste better, but
like $3 well drinks. They're just trying to get rid of the beet juice.
Some carrots in it and kind of get beets, juice, and apples mixed together, so it tastes a little bit better.
So, Bill's had beets.
I've had it. I've had
on the beat.
I've had it.
He's on the beat. There you go.
Yeah. All right, let's close out the show. Yeah, there he is. That's your guy, Dwight Schrute.
Dwight
there you go.
Schrute.
Well done. Can you flash that on the camera or put a graphic on the screen? Yeah, we'll fix that in post. Well done. Thank you. I didn't. You know what? I'm surprised. I'm ashamed of myself. I didn't think of that, but well done right there. All right, let's close out the show. Let's talk about the Broncos. All right. Before the season started, we saw them back like on August 10th or something for the first preseason game of the year, which is like 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
You're looking at this team and you're doing the research. I went back and I looked at my notes for that preseason game. The average age of their roster is 26 years old, so a very young roster. Vegas gave them like 5.5 wins at the beginning of the season, the over-under. But here they are, 3 games over 500, looking to make the playoffs, as we said, for the first time since 2015. Casey, can you put your finger on why this team has exceeded expectations and has, kicked that fan base, which is a great fan base out in Denver, back into gear here late in the season.
The only thing I can think of is Sean Payton. It is that mentality, the morale, the chemistry, all that you want to put into what he's done to change the environment in Denver. But it has worked, because you talk about all of that, the youth, but it was also, from a salary cap standpoint, they were so hamstrung because of the contract that Russell Wilson had and the dead money that, there was a time where it was like they had 5 position groups, and it was like, well, we have to get rid of the highest paid guy here just to even play, because they had to get
under the cap.
So, they're releasing guys, and guys are taking on bigger roles who you didn't think of at all.
Yeah.
And it's just a testament to what Sean Payton has done. And you got to tip the cap to, at the end of the day, quarterback is so important, and they didn't have their pick. You think about it, he was the 5th quarterback taken? Sixth quarterback taken in the draft. And, I know the reports are that, if they had the first overall pick, it still would have been Bo Nix. Yeah, whatever. You say what you want to say. But Bo Nix and Sean Payton has worked.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is, I'm not at all saying this is high praise. And he's got to really have a lengthy career to really make the comparison. But Bo Nix reminds me a lot of what Drew Brees did with Sean Payton in New Orleans. So it makes sense from a standpoint of, the way he looks at the game from a quarterback position. They have similar stature as well. So Sean Payton found a guy that he can run an offense around that he did so well in New Orleans. And the culture has changed. So Sean Payton and Bo Nix, you got to tip your cap to both of what those guys have done, because it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
I think we all talked about it in the preseason that this is a Broncos team that maybe in 3 or 4 years are competing with your Kansas City Chiefs in that division, because you got to get these young guys in there. But they've really sped that track along pretty quick.
Yeah, they started 0-2,
Yep.
and you're thinking, okay, this is kind of on par for the expectations. But then they've ripped off a bunch of wins. They've won 6 of their last 9. They've won 3 straight games. They're averaging 36 points per game during this 3-game winning streak. And I know some of that is aided by some of the pick sixes they had on that Monday Night Football game against the Browns. But still, they're scoring north of 30, and they're clicking at the right time. And that's where I want to pick up, because, Bill, good quarterback play when you see it. Bo Nix has already set the Broncos rookie quarterback marks for passing yards and passing touchdowns in a season. He's a hard guy to bring down. He's only been sacked 19 times. He's kind of like Anthony Richardson in that regard, right? Because he's avoiding sacks and he's getting rid of the football, and he's just showing a lot of, grit in the pocket. Why do you think Nix has been able to be a really good fit out there right away with Sean Payton? And like Casey said, he's the 6th quarterback taken in the top 12. And they took him because they were desperate to find a quarterback. But who was it, Casey, that we were talking about in the preseason opener with the Broncos? He was competing with
Jared Stidham.
Yeah, Stidham started the game against the Colts. They didn't know if he was going to start week 1, but
and they made that trade for Zach Wilson,
right?
Who was a top. He was a 2nd pick taken a couple of years ago by the Jets. So he was brought in too because they wanted to see what they had.
Yeah, Nix didn't even play. If memory serves, he didn't even play until the late 2nd quarter in that preseason game. Why has Nix hit it off?
Well, I think
quickly?
One, you have, as you mentioned earlier, you have a quarterback that has a lot of experience playing in regards to playing football. Yes, it wasn't in college, it wasn't in the pros, but he has a lot of experience of playing football. Sean Payton wants someone that is going to be cerebral out there, someone that's going to think through the process, understand things. He sees things, maybe be able to check out things. I think that's why it's a good fit with Bo Nix being with Coach Payton there. So I think they do a good job, and he's just a good athlete. I think, for one, he can run, he can scramble, he can get the ball out where he needs to. At first, as you mentioned, they were 0-2. I think he had no touchdowns and 4 interceptions in his first 2 games. And as you see over time, he's gradually gotten better. And in the last 3 games, he's had 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. In one of those games, I think he completed 84% of his passes.
Yeah.
So you've seen him get better as the season goes on, but I think he fits what Sean Payton wants. What he wants is someone that's smart out there, makes good decisions, and can get the ball out there where he needs to. And also, I think, you know what? He's not afraid of the moment himself.
Yeah.
I think he'll take a shot down the field when he can and, take a chance. He's not afraid to just, hey, look, I can tuck it and run it and get some yards. So I think he fits what Sean Payton wants. I think that's why they've been so successful.
Yeah, great point right there. And that goes back to that big game, who could handle that the best between these two young quarterbacks who are similar in age, but it's a wide gap in terms of experience and big moments. And again, Anthony Richardson has quieted some of those critics with these game-winning drives in 2 out of the last 3 games for the Colts. So hopefully that's able to manifest itself in a Colts win. Lastly, I want to talk about this Denver defense, giving up only 18 points per game. They were absolutely shredded by the Browns last time out. They gave up, 550-something total, 497 passing by Jameis Winston. Obviously, the turnovers created by the Broncos defense saved them in that game. But what are you to make of this defense that has, on the whole, been great, but last time out we saw them not so great? Defensively, I think the point total is good because they're elite inside the red zone. So how are you to rip apart this Denver defense and then put it back together as to why they've been so good this season?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it probably all starts with Pat Surtain. I mean, he is arguably the best, if not the best corner in football. He is as close to a shutdown guy as you're going to get. And he's a guy who can, whether it's Michael Pittman or Alec Pierce, I'm not sure where he's going to be lined up, but it's going to be interesting to see where he is because you're probably going to see a lot more targets go the other way. But I think you talked about that explosion that the Browns had. Riley Moss is the guy that is typically on the other side of where Surtain is, and he looks like he's probably not going to play. So if you start getting into the depth there at corner, that's where they do have a little bit of a problem.
And that's where the Browns were like,
and that's
let's
the
go.
Browns said let's go.
Levi
Wallace, and then you've got I think Chris Abrams-Drain is a 5th-round rookie that has kind of been, he was inactive for a handful of games. He's been thrust into, so I think he might have overtaken Wallace after Wallace's last one. So you still got a lot of inexperience out there. But so that's where you start. But then up front, I mean, they've got a really, really good front. I mean, you don't lead the league in sacks if you're just an average team. And Nick Bonito is probably the guy that's going to get the buzz, and he has been very, very good. A couple years ago was I think a 2nd-round pick out of Oklahoma.
He barely played.
And exactly. So he's not a household name, but after you've seen what he's done this year, he's definitely getting into that conversation. He is really, really good. It's just Vance Joseph has been a very solid defensive coordinator in this league for a long time. It's ironic that he was a head coach in Denver, got fired, and now he's back as the defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. But he has been a guy for a long time, has put really good defenses out there. So it's not surprising that this defense is good, but you're hoping that you get a little bit of a carryover from what the Browns were able to attack, because if you can do that, you feel pretty good, because if you're going to go out there and get 500-some-odd yards of total offense, most of the time you're going to get a victory.
Yeah, Bill, if the Colts are going to win this game, they've got to succeed inside the red zone. Denver giving up 43% conversion rate inside the 20. They've only given up 16 red zone touchdowns all season long. That's why their defense, to me, is in the elite category.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons why they're, second, I think, in the National Football League in red zone defense. So the Colts, when they get down there, they're going to have to score touchdowns. You don't want to score field goals. Yes.
And is that AR time?
Oh, yes, definitely. You see that. I mean, look, when you have AR in the backfield there, it makes it hard on the defense. They don't know who to stop. They don't know who's going to get the ball. And we saw against New England, ran the ball in for the 2-point conversion. Down in the red zone, hit Alec Pierce for the big play for the touchdown. So he can do a lot of different things, and it puts the defense in a bind, not knowing what the offense is going to do.
Doubt.
So that is definitely AR time. But also, I think one of the things the Colts also have to do is they have to run the ball. They have to be able to run the ball. AR, Jonathan Taylor, whoever it is in the backfield there, because I think Denver is going to probably want to hang their hat on trying to stop the run.
Yeah.
They've done a good job this year. I think they're 6th in the National Football League against the run. So I think they try to make you one-dimensional as far as throwing the ball. And if they can get you that way, they feel like it plays to their hands. That way they can rush the passer and get the sacks, which they have.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be imperative for the Colts to run the ball and have some success at running the ball, so they hopefully can maybe get some play action passes down the field.
Yeah. All right. You mentioned running the football. Do you have something? I'm sorry.
No, you're
All
good.
right, I don't mean to steal your thunder.
You're good.
All right. There's holiday parties everywhere. There's Christmas gatherings. If you want to impress somebody, here you go. You're talking about running the ball. I completely agree with you. Jonathan Taylor has never played against the Denver Broncos. Never played out west. Jonathan Taylor in the month of December and beyond for his career. Jonathan Taylor is averaging 110 rushing yards per game in the month of December and beyond. That is the highest yards per game average in NFL history in the month of December and beyond. So JT and Anthony Richardson, you got to run those two guys until the wheels fall off. And I think that's what the Colts have done in terms of identifying themselves on who they're going to be on offense since Anthony Richardson has come back with the benching. The governor, whatever you want to say, the governor's off Anthony Richardson. They're not, counting numbers of carries for him throughout the course of the game. I'm excited for this game. I cannot wait. And this is Thursday. We still got 3 or 4 days to go. So any other parting shots you want to talk about? Anything else we missed about the magnitude of this game before we close out?
I'm right there with you on the excitement level. I'm interested to see how it looks because you can break down the schedule however you want, but with the Broncos and where they've been the last handful of years, their schedule was pretty easy when you look at the teams they played. And the mark of, teams that are over 500 and under 500 for them, it's very similar to kind of what you've seen here with the Colts.
Yep. Yeah, feasting on bad teams.
They're feasting on bad teams. So I want to see how skewed that is, with all of these numbers, defensively, offensively, whatever it is. I want to see how that looks on Sunday with my own eyes with this Colts team that I think is, they're up and down. It's been a roller coaster ride, but ultimately they have done what they needed to do against these teams that are, not playoff teams.
Right.
So it's really going to be telling. I'm very interested to see how it all shakes out on Sunday because I know Bill doesn't want to say it, but this is a must-win.
And the Colts have played a lot of teams that are in the playoff field as of right now.
Yes.
So they're tested.
Yep.
And I think if this game goes down to the wire, if this is a one-score game, I think that favors the Colts because that's the neighborhood they live in.
Right, they do.
The Colts have to have a key card to get into one-score games. All right? That's their building. I mean, that's what they're used to. 11 of 13 games have been decided by one score.
No sign in.
Yeah, they got to sign in.
Right.
I mean, interestingly enough, the Broncos lead the NFL in wins by more than one score this season.
Wow.
So they don't play tight games. The Colts do, and I think this game's going right down to the wire because of that's
past precedent, right?
It has
That's
to.
what it is.
I mean, it just has to because of you have so much on the line between these two teams in this game. So I can't wait. Like I said, I am fired up.
It's going to be a
great game, and it's a little bit later than normal. We got to mention that 4:25 start out west. Bring your beet juice. You're going to need it, all right? Get the inhaler, the beet juice, turn up the radio, turn down the sound on the TV. What else do we need? Maybe a bag of chips. You're good to go.
I'll bring some popcorn for us, Bill.
It's going to be a late dinner for you here in Indianapolis.
That's all right.
With a late start between the Colts and the Broncos. For Bill Brooks, Casey Vallier, I'm Matt Taylor. Connor back there on the ones and twos. You're fantastic as always. Appreciate you watching here on YouTube, listening on the Colts Audio Network. Colts and Broncos, Week 15. A lot on the line. You know the drill, and we're going to do it again next week talking about the Colts with 3 games to play here on the Official Colts Podcast. But until then, thanks for listening and watching, everybody, so long, and we'll talk to you next time here on the Official Colts Podcast.